Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Okay. Interesting day today.
Yeah, no, we had a great day, and I think actually in the room, I mean, Paula asked me where the buy was in Google, and I said 649. I think she bought it lower, but it was up $5 from that at the end of the day. So
Google or
that was a
Google
good
L?
one. Pardon?
Which Google?
Google L. I'm sorry.
Oh, just want to make sure.
And it ended up at 515, 654.
So would you give it at the opening price when it got back
Yeah,
above the
when I
open?
went through there, yeah.
At what point in the middle of the day today did you feel like the short wasn't in anymore?
It was right. It wasn't soon after that. Soon after I left, that it's. I started. It took another dip down after 12, and then did not seem like it wanted to go down. At first, it looked like it might be going to make new lows. So I guess it was around 1 o'clock.
Okay.
And then the market started getting some strength to it. And then before I left, I had said Facebook 93 and Netflix. We kept watching it because it went through 100 twice, but it didn't stay there. Then it went down to like 98.9850. And I said, remember, 100's the buy. And I think it ended up at 103 and change.
Well, we keep talking about these inside days and the kind of days that they produce, and
Right.
not
I
only
was
was
at
this.
104. So they could have gotten $4 off of that today.
Wow.
I still think it has room tomorrow. The announcement was that it's going to launch an app to Oculus, which is Facebook, and Samsung for the virtual reality headsets.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah,
Well, you were saying all morning, you said something's going on that's not in the news yet.
right. That's what I kept saying. Robin was in it too. She bought some 100 calls, and she had a spread in it. And I said, even if this doesn't go through 100 before the close, something's going on here. There's something that we're not knowing. So I'm going to buy some cheap calls.
Did you notice the price of the call starting to go up before it exploded?
Yeah, the one great thing is it's Thursday. So there's not going to be a ton of premium in them. There was some premium, like I bought the 100s and I paid 167 for them right around the time when it was 100. So I did pay $1.67, but then I ended up selling the 105s against them, for 60. So I only paid $1 to make $5.
Oh, wow, that's great risk reward.
Yeah. And then we had Starbucks. Someone called out in the room and we made a deal with Dannon. That had a nice day.
I think that was Joan who called it out.
Right. I think it was too. So we had that. Then we had Thomas who called out MBLY because Citron put a $20 price target on them. Excuse me. And we had a nice impulse down. Then it did finally go back up, but it was a nice trade down to down there.
And how did Caterpillar unfold today? That was
And
interesting.
Caterpillar held the 65. Remember, I kept saying, I cannot believe this isn't holding the 65, but then eventually it did hold the 65. There really was not a trade in that all day.
Just to give everybody a heads up on that. You want maybe Mary, if you don't mind, just going over what the pre-market call was in that, just so everybody just doesn't think it was a gap down.
Okay, so we had the pre-market. We saw the pre-market trading down a few dollars. Axiom, like a second-tier analyst firm, I would say they probably don't want to hear that. Gave it a $28 price target in a sell. Now I saw support at 65, and I couldn't believe that it could trade below 65. But I had told everybody in the room, don't sell it on the opening, and it gapped down. It was I think it was around towards 66 at the opening, right? The
Yep.
opening price.
Yeah.
And I said, we're not going to get much more because 65 is your support. So let's wait for it to set up to see if we get another leg down or what we get in. We actually didn't really get a trade in it today, but it was better than having people, short it and getting chopped up all day and then going long, trying to catch it and everything. So I really don't think anybody really traded it all day, but there really wasn't much of a trade in there all day, I don't think.
We give everybody an idea where we got the 65 from. So you
Wow.
have to use multiple time frames. That was essentially the last place that buyers did something significant to step in there. So that's
Right.
as it pushed down and gapped down and made that first push lower. There wasn't a lot of room to go. We kept dancing right around that 65, which you can see here on the chart on the left. But when you're setting up trades, you got to make sure that there's room to go is the terminology that we use. And yeah, I mean the price target that was put on there was so ridiculously low. It could have gone lower, but there was support there, so there was a reference point to lean on to expect some buying to come in at that level, and then the better trade would have been through that level.
Right. So that's what we were waiting for, to see if we could find a setup. And that never did unfold, today. So I don't really think anybody did anything. But we had some other great trades. Netflix, like Pete said, was so strong today. It's been relatively weak. It was so strong today, even as the market was turning down. So we kept saying, what's going on here? Somebody knows something, or something's going on that we're not seeing right now. So let's keep an eye on it. 100's been the support and then the resistance for it. So the buy was through 100 and it got to 104.
And just give everybody some reference points of what we were talking about. Like within this hour here, from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock, you can see that Netflix, especially right towards 11 o'clock, was starting to push higher and had this big green candle here. At that same time, the market was actually trading at the lows. So the stock was actually doing exactly the opposite of the market, and it was trading actively. So there was clearly something going on to keep an eye on. And now we talk about the stock every day to keep it in the list just because of the liquidity and the potential for it to do this. But we did have a pretty good discussion both pre-market and when the market rang about whether or not there was a bias here. There really isn't a longer-term bias right now. We're kind of chopping around for a little bit. We had an inside candle yesterday. We kept flirting around the 100. So this was really more of an intraday, day-to-day breakout trade than a bias. And maybe we'll get some follow-through tomorrow. Like we got these 2 days over here. We expected follow-through, but we didn't. We got basically 5 days of a dud. So maybe the stock can get back into a groove where we start to test up here. We'll wait and see, but I still think it's a little bit less conviction from a longer-term perspective, but absolutely could trade it if it's trading well like it did today.
Right. And then we had two other stocks, just so people understand what we're doing and how we're picking things out. Yesterday on a weekday, Facebook and Apple both held up well. So I'm like, let's keep an eye on Facebook and Apple today, the two more. They're both engulfing bars today. They both did well today. I kept watching for Facebook to hold the 93, which it didn't, but then it did eventually get back up there and never hit the 92.
This is actually interesting too, Mary, if you don't mind. One of the conversations that we cover quite a bit is whether or not you should, like say the market's going down today, and whether or not you should even be considering shorting one of the stocks that you would consider a strong stock. And there's a lot of traders that often try and justify, say, well, it's going down now, everything else is going down, I should be shorting it. But this chart is the exact reason that you don't do that.
Right. I think someone called out in the room today that Facebook was weak. Well, it might have been weak at that moment, but it's a really strong stock, and it's not a stock to short at this point.
Tomorrow, the 20-period moving average should end up above the 50, very much the same way that Netflix turned. Was it Netflix or Tesla? I can't remember now. It was Tesla yesterday. So now that's showing that the 20 is now in sync with the 50 tomorrow. And you've been all over that. You said, look, there's, and actually that was a part of this morning's conversation. There isn't a reason to be out of it yet. You have your lines in the sand, you have your levels, and until those levels are broken, you have to remain with the trade. And I think we did trade below one of those levels today, but it got back above there.
In Facebook, yeah, 93 was a level. And my kind of line in the sand, even though 91.22 is really the line, it was 92, and it did not get down there.
What about Nike after hours? I know you're a big fan of UA, and Nike had
I don't take stock into earnings. Sometimes I might take options. The options were way out of whack today, so I did not take them. And Nike blew out the earnings. It's trading at 123 now, up $8. What I was looking for to really, because I own Under Armour stock, and Under Armour is now trading at 104.57. So Foot Locker and Under Armour. Let me see where Foot Locker is. Foot Locker and Under Armour will get residual trades from, so on either direction. I mean, if they had gone down, it would also, we'd have to be careful for too. Yeah, and Foot Locker is up $1.
Right around 75.
Probably 52-week highs.
Yep, according to this chart, it is.
Yeah. So and Under Armour still has another dollar to go for 52-week highs. 105.89 is that. But these will be, I think these should be active tomorrow. All three of these stocks I would keep an eye on.
All right, so let's just go over a recap of what we're looking at coming into the day. It's Thursday night already. I can't believe how fast this week is going. It's actually the week and the month, looking at the 24th already. We have this up here, basically a big U-turn today to the upside, so just get a quick recap. This was the market coming into today. Quite a bit of indecision, even though we gapped down. There was a lot of stocks that basically closed with doji-type candles, still weren't giving us that big trend day. I actually thought we were going to get it today, but just didn't. No other way to put it, which is still driving some traders nuts, and you could definitely understand it. So here's the price action at the end of yesterday. You can see again, I thought we were going to get a little better push down yesterday. It was closed below the low for the first time, a little bit decisive. That's not exactly very decisive, but it was. So I was kind of leaning on the short side today. We had these levels down here as the first support that we were looking for, and I was fully expecting a trend day down today. I didn't expect as much as we bounced today. So again, I put traders, which basically means me and anybody I speak to, still seeking a trend day in the SPY. We need better volume to rely on it as a foundation for trading conviction. I think that's the big thing there. Again, I'm kind of like a volume nut because I want to see if there is institutional participation in the trades, and 156 today, 156 million. So, and a lot of that in the afternoon. So we did get a little bit better trading today. It's going to be interesting to see how, if we get follow through tomorrow. Quite a few engulfing candles today, which for those who aren't familiar with the terminology, basically engulfed the entire previous candle and reversed in this case. So I put have not traded a market this stock specific in, well, ever. That's the consensus right now. Best trades, and again, we talked about this yesterday with the agricultural stocks, CF, Potash, all of those guys look very sector industry related to get better ideas because the market not really helping that much. Although and actually, I guess we could say that today. When the market picked up a bid in the afternoon, it did help, and that shows how important it is that when the market's obvious, it can lift everything, and you get much better pushes. But when we're not, then you got to go back to that industry-related stuff.
But do you think also it gave a better push to the already stronger stocks?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. But I wanted to just point out one also. Remember, I just mentioned when we were talking about Apple and Facebook were stronger stocks. Those charts were a good reason why you eliminate the short side, even if it's going down. You should be shorting weaker stocks, not shorting strong stocks for this exact reason. Because not only are you getting this, and again, a lot of stocks went up, so I want to put that in perspective, but the stronger stocks will go up stronger. There's no other way to put it. But here's the other trade that will kind of make my point here, which is this one. Okay, so we just saw what the market did, and this is obviously a very weak stock. It got a little bit of buying out of the gate, but look at where it closed. So you want to be weak short selling, strong buying. So this is a really good example here of the point that I'm trying to make is it's easier to make money, or I should say easier to be in a high probability trade when you are trading one direction in the stock. It's extremely difficult to reverse. You want to be short the stock in the morning, and then noon you want to be long the stock. That's a very, very difficult way to make a living.
Exactly. Not only that, but you're going to get the momentum to the upside on the stronger stocks and to the downside on the shorter, on the weaker stocks. So go with momentum.
Yep.
Go with what the institutions are doing.
So we are basically, this is today's price action. We're basically back into the box now, Marion. Actually, the box was a little bit higher here, but now you can see we actually have a much wider box now.
Yep.
Pretty obvious there. All right, so some long ideas from today. We covered Tesla. We just went over Nike with the after hours. We covered UA, Amazon, and Starbucks both had nice reversals today too. And TSO and CYBR actually popped in the afternoon as well. TSO is actually having an ugly morning, but then actually caught a bid at about 11 o'clock. So it looked like it was going to give back what it did yesterday. We call this as both a strong stock for the week, closed up 2% yesterday, had a 20-day breakout. and in the list for those reasons, not because it's in a screaming uptrend, but that's one of our most recent price action trades. And you can see picked up very nicely, over $3 from low to high there at the end of the day. Actually, let me take this off post after hours so we get the actual trades there. Not much on the inside days today, Mary, because a lot of them were actually engulfing patterns. A lot of these stocks broke out lower when the market caught a bid. They actually reversed in the other direction. And the best way to make a trade in most of these inside days is a breakout, and then you continue to go in that direction. And today was a little bit, I'm not going to say challenging. They just went in two directions today.
Right.
So they weren't clean breakout trades. So like Home Depot is actually a good example here. It actually traded lower and then reversed and ultimately ended up not quite an engulfing candle, but pretty close. So nothing really to report home today about the with the inside candles today. And on the short side, this was a tough one too, because a lot of these stocks were trading well out of the gate. They were pushing lower, and then all of a sudden the market caught a bid. You can see we just discussed win there. So what's interesting about it now is the market itself is, like we said, it's back in that box, and it's going to be difficult to have a bias stronger than we expect a flat opening and a push higher tomorrow just based on today's close. And actually, we might get a little better push than that, maybe an hour's worth or so because of Nike. Maybe that'll spill over into the rest of the tape because of how good the news was. Maybe the market's just looking for something like that. But big picture, you can't ignore. We're in a box right now, and within that box, this box is the 20s declining, the 50s declining, which is why I actually was, I wouldn't say aggressive, but definitely had a bias to the short side today. But then the VIX intraday, made that kind of clear. If you guys aren't watching the VXX, it does a beautiful, beautiful job of trading opposite of the market. You can get a pretty good idea of this going up, the market going down, and this was kind of cool here. We got a failed new high in the VIX here on this push, which ultimately led to the market spiking at that same time. So some good price action today. You had to be on your toes, but I think the way I want to end the meeting today, Marion, is I can't stress enough, if you eliminate one side of the market for most of your stocks, you're not going to get ran over in the opposite direction for the exact reason what I said. If you want to be long a stock, you shouldn't be looking to short that stock. You should be looking to short stocks that are in your short sale list. So I think we're back to square one for tomorrow because we're back in the box. I think that you still have to do some pretty good homework. One thing we did notice today was a lot of the stocks that were weak for the last 5 to 6 days were a little bit, I hate to use the term oversold, but they definitely were.
They were not only oversold, but they were down at support. So I think we had looked at both of that, support and the fact that they had like 4 or 5 down days.
Yep. So that kind of, I'm not going to say it didn't eliminate the downside. We were still looking for shorts. You just didn't have the same conviction that you were going to get the type of trend day that you did the last few days. So maybe today is just the start of a little blip to the upside. We'll see. I hope so. At least we get something readable, right?
Yeah, that would be great.
Yep. All right. So I think we're going to call it a day. Not really a lot to talk about across the board, really. It was just a midday rally that was a little stronger than the ones that we've had in the past, and maybe Netflix and Nike were the reasons for it. I guess we'll let all the prognosticators discuss that tonight. But as far as we're concerned, we just read the price action. We had some good longs, and the longs finally played out today.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to call it a day. Thanks very much, Marion. Have an awesome night.
Okay, you too, Pete. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
See you in the morning.